Yo, peeps, welcome to the Conspiracy Cupboard. Today, we've got part of a two-parter that I'm doing, which is where are we now in the UAP world? It's going to be called Disclosure, Part 1 and Part 2. So, here we go. Let's get into this. Cue the title sequence. Title sequence away. So I just want to say thank you very much to all my recent subscribers. A lot of you have been subscribing from a lot of the shorts I've been doing, little bits of comedy, if you can call it comedy. So there'll be some more of that to come. But yes, obviously the channel is about conspiracy, and the biggest one is, are we alone in the universe, and how much do our governments know? And now you see I've been covering little bits from the UK, the A70 incident, the Penrich incident, the Alan Godfrey case, loads of, if you go back into the channel, you can see them and where we're going, okay? Now, I've been trying to build up a connection to show you that there is a definite connection somewhere between what we're seeing, UAPs, and spiritual phenomena. Okay, and things in between that, like ball lightning, orbs, everything to poltergeists. Okay, so on that spectrum, there is where all of this sits. Okay, so you had things like Skinwalker Ranch that have been investigated. I'm going to do a full episode on that, and ORSAP and ATIP and all the acronyms and stuff of these programs that we've been doing. We've had Congress meet, okay, where they had Commander David Fravor, they had David Grusch, they had Commander Ryan Graves as well, all part of the military. David Grusch high up in the intelligence, which I've got some clips from. It was recently on Joe Rogan, which you need to go and check it out. I've been waiting for him to go on there. Great interview. We didn't really find out much more than what we knew, but it comes across very normal guy, fucking everything's F and Jeff. And it gives a bit more credence to him. He's come forward. He could have had, like he said, he could have had a career. No one would have heard of him. Carried on doing what he's doing. Loads of money. Thank you very much. Intelligence service. He's come forward and whistleblower about the UAPs, about possible aliens, interdimensional beings, entities, whatever it is that's here, that he knows about, that people have told him about, and he's coming forward. He was researching this. He was looking into this as part of his job. He's come forward. And things like this back up what Bob Lazar said. David Grusch is claiming that it's all compartmentalized. Not one person knows about everything, and there are people like Rapey and Lockheed Martin and things that have got the keys, in this stuff, and they hold the locks, but people who've covered up stuff don't want this to be released or this, and you've got to sign this and do, So Bob Lazar, gives him more credence, doesn't it? It gives a lot of people, Travis Walton. I've got an episode coming up on him. All these people that claimed abduction, all this stuff that the government's covered up is now coming to fruition. So as part of this two-parter, I've got some clips from the Congress meeting. Sorry, not the Congress meeting. I'm not showing that. I've got clips from that, and another one I've done a video on that, so you can go back and look at the Congress meeting. It's called Holy UFOs Batman, and you can go back and watch that one. So I've got some clips from the second Mexico hearing about UAP, which was fascinating. Obviously, they're talking about these alien bodies or pre-human bodies. I'm not going to say that they're alien because it looks like they could possibly be some kind of pre-ancestor to us, or from some other dimension that's intercrossed with us, and it's what I actually believe anyway. Is when you finally get to read Emma Van Den Bridges, you'll see that that's my whole thesis on the world. But they're fascinating, so I've got some clips from those coming up in a minute. And then, yeah, like I say, clips from from David Grusch when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day. So what I'd like from you guys for this episode, I'm going to show you some clips. Just give me your feedback on what you think we've learnt so far. If you talked about UFOs, UAPs, aliens, anything like this, say even 15 years ago, 10 years ago, people looked at you a bit gone out. You know, I mean, I've discussed this stuff my whole life, and people are going, Dave's a bit wacky, isn't he? Well, yeah. You know, and ghosts have always been a bit more open to people. People believe ghost stories a bit more. You know, you get chill up your spine. Everyone sort of gets those feelings, but not everyone's seen a UFO. Not everyone's seen, you know, a cryptid, an alien, you know, whatever. So I do get that. But when you're looking up and you're seeing stuff, and you're getting reports from military people, and you're getting reports from people that have worked on secret programs apparently, and there's something there, and if there wasn't something there, why wouldn't the government just let you go? Go on then, say it. Say whatever you want. Say whatever you want about it. There's obviously something there, isn't there? So these first couple of clips that I've got to show you then are taken from... really windy. So these first couple of clips I've got to show you then are taken from the second Mexico UFO hearing. They show... so one of the clips obviously shows the bodies and the different states that they're in. It's taken from Christina Gomez, her channel. Basically, I was going through a load of clips and items, and here's the best place to actually find the full segment. So if you want to go and watch the full thing, I'll tag her below. You can go and watch the full hearing there. I've just taken out a couple of the best bits and snippets so we can talk about them afterwards. So we've got a clip of the alien bodies, the vertebrae and the technology on them, and then another clip that will show you sort of different UFOs, UAPs that have been seen and basically being brought up in front of the Mexico hearing. So here are the first couple of clips.
If they were really manufactured bodies or not. Next. During the process, we used some materials and equipment, like here we're using some implant motor that is designed to work in bones, not in teeth, not in stone, just in bones, to make surgery in bones. We aided on that to take tissue in block, just like an epithelial tissue or bone tissue. Next, from the three regions that I mentioned, during that procedure, we got the surprise at getting a block out of the thorax that would be like a segment of the abdominal thorax, because it's joint. We found that the species looked some kind of organ that had a position, that had the position, texture, and color of a liver. It could be a liver, and we were surprised to find it in a pretty good state of conservation, taking into account that this is a desiccated specimen from over 1,000 years ago. Next. I also want to say that, well, we saw microscopically one of the finger bones that had a fracture to see the composition of the finger. And if we can see the image on the left, we can see that they have really, really small pieces. And imagine the fingers, they're really small, and they're very delicate, and it was fractured. And we can see in the image at the right the composition that it has. It has an envolture that would be the epithelial tissue or the muscular tissue that is signaled in the yellow arrow that surrounds the bone, that has the structure of a long bone, like the blue arrow signals, and the red arrow signals to the bone marrow, which is the center part of the bone. Next, this also indicates that these are biological specimens, and we also took some samples from the other specimen, which is called Josefina. It has the same similarities, but it has a particularity because, as I have said before, this specimen had some strange objects in the belly that looked like eggs. Next. So we took the samples to send them to the National University of Engineering for them to be analyzed. Next, we're going to go a little bit faster. So we took from 3 parts, from the head, from the thorax, and from the extremities. Next, and next, here. The oppositors said that these were stones that were put in there in the specimens to make them look like they were eggs. So we decided to use the same equipment and devices that was designed only to be worked in bones, not in teeth or stone, but and we could make holes one of the eggs and another one of the eggs with some resistance, but we could do it. In the video, we can see that we could make the hole, that egg, about 50 millimeters. The egg a little bit more in the upper part and in the left part of the specimen. We also did the perforation, and we noticed that that one did not offer so much resistance. That meant that in the same specimen, it had 3 objects that we could say that they're eggs that had different densities. This was also sent to the National Engineering University for its evaluation. Next, the specimen. Well, here we can see a 3D reconstruction so that you can see better how these eggs are within the specimen. We took samples from 2 of these eggs, and you can also see here the distinct density that these eggs have, different densities that they have amongst themselves, because they're in different states of development. Next one. Another particularity of this specimen is that it has a metallic plate. They have already made the studies. It was also sent to the engineering university. Thanks a lot. This is what I can talk to you about until now.
Irving,
this analysis, do they prove that this metal was put there by a very advanced technology, by someone who knew what they were doing?
As I said, recently in this season, for this millennia, we can do that. We put them with different ends to repair, or even in other countries, they're putting chips. And for that, in that time, that we're talking about more than 1,000 years ago, it had to be a species that firstly, it had to be alive for that fusing process to take place, because it's not attached. And the other one is that these beings had to have superior intelligence for that to work.
The osmium is toxic. It generates irritation if one breathes it in. We bleed by the nose. It affects our lungs. How can you put osmium in that area?
Metallurgically, I really can't give you my opinion. Metallurgical engineers will give that opinion. But what I know is that there's a lot of metal structures that with the treatment, with modern technologies, we can avoid that stuff. Like with copper, we're using copper as antibacterial.
Is there any doubt about the authenticity of these bodies, about their legitimacy, that they were organic beings?
About the authenticity, until now, the research team, all of the trials that we've done, they reaffirm that these are authentic beings. There is a doubt about a lot of things, like this, what we're finding. The new findings that we need more research to come to a conclusion. We're making more studies, and according to our limitations, because we're very conscious, we really know that Peru, as a third world country, we don't really have the technology to make further research. But when we do more research, we found more stuff that they keep surprising us. And I am really surprised by the expositions of a lot of the doctors that have passed before me, that I'm just meeting in this forum. And I'm really surprised from a scientific standpoint from their studies. I'm really surprised. And I'm learning every day more about this. Like, we haven't spoken about this before, because there are doctors from other countries, and they have studied all of this by their own. For example, what you showed about another metal that they found that was mostly silver, that according to the video is toxic. So every day we are finding more surprising stuff, and obviously this requires a more thorough research, and that's why Dr. Rocha has done the invitation to all the institutions of the world to take part of this research, and we can make more thorough investigations.
Thanks a lot, doctor.
Nowadays, since 20 years ago that I've been working in this area, I have been receiving one or maybe two similar
a los
reports
anteriores durante los inicios de mi
of
carrera.
those that I have
Pero sin
been
lugar a
receiving
dudas,
since the
Este
beginning of my career.
2023
But
ha sido
definitely
un
this
año con un elevado número de
2023,
avistamientos.
there has been an unusual high
Visto lo
amount
anterior,
of
a
sightings.
continuación les mostraré
I will show
evidencia de lo
you
antes descrito
the
en los
evidence
audios.
of what has been described in some audios, please.
A las 3 de su posición. Tiene un tráfico a las 3 de su posición exactamente a 5 millas.
Traffic
5
has
miles from
actually-
220. Do you refer to that? I have the traffic at sea, but I can't. But it's like it's making figures. I don't know. I don't know if they're airplanes, but we're fighting at the same. Well, I don't have any notification of these objects, Captain. And how many objects do they look? I think there are like around 8, and they are like turning on and off. I had Tower 1, Curiosity. Do you by any chance who have an object to our side? It's difficult to calculate, but I think it's around Fijo Maxa. Who have Maxa is at your left at around 14 miles. Híjole, I don't have traffic reported, sir. I don't observe any of that in the area. The most certain traffic is you could say it's close to you is like 123 miles from 3.0. How are you? Good night. And 1.108 and 308. Thanks, pilot. How was your contact 380? Does it look like Starlink? I don't think so, gentlemen. I'm sorry. It looks bigger than Hermosillo. Static. It was static. The lights. Yeah, you can see more than 100 lights. There were so many lights. Yeah, they were like kilometric. The source of the light. Yeah. Here we're still with Jesus with Christ in our mouths. Thanks.
Parece algo que no está identificado,
Something
pues no
appears that is
podemos
not
saber qué
registered.
es, con
We don't really
certeza qué es,
know
pero
with
los
certainty
pilotos lo
what
describen
it
como,
is, but pilots describe it
eh,
like
elementos o
elements or
cosas
objects
extraordinarias
that make
que
extraordinary
desafian
things that
la ley de
defy
la
any
gravedad
kind
o
of
de la física o de la
gravity
aerodinámica.
or aerodynamical or physical law.
I don't know what that is. That is some weird shit.
Running at 2735, between 120, that's 17, good day. Between 120 and 17, good day, running at 2735.
En la TAM nos encanta ser parte de sus celebraciones. Por eso queremos felicitar a una princesa muy especial llamada Ana Sofía, quien se encuentra hoy cumpliendo años. Te deseamos muchas bendiciones y que seas...
de altura. No es un avión,
This
no
is
es
not a
un
plane.
dron,
It's
no
not a
es un
drone.
globo.
It's
Evidentemente
not
es
a
un objeto
balloon.
anómalo.
Obviously, it's an unidentified anomalous phenomenon.
Y creo
And
que
this
fue
is,
grabado desde
I think
un
this was
aeropuerto,
taken
un
from an
pasajero
airport.
con
A
objeto paseándose
passenger took
sobre
it.
las pistas del
This was
aeropuerto,
the object was like floating around the
pues demostrando que
airport,
están
demonstrating that
constantemente cerca de los
it's
aviones,
constantly close to
constituyen un
airplanes,
verdadero
and they
peligro
truly do
como
constitute
lo
a danger,
podrá, pues,
as
reconocer,
can be
José Ángel
recognized by José Ángel Guevara,
porque ellos tienen que ver con esto
because they
constantemente.
have to deal with
Entonces,
this
yo creo que
constantly.
invito al
So I
diputado Sergio
invite
a
Deputy
considerar
Sergio
con
to
estas
consider
modificaciones
with
a las
these
leyes
modifications
que
to
se
the
pueda
laws
instaurar algún tipo
that
de
there may
oficina
need to be
que
some kind
investigue
of
este
office
fenómeno.
that researches about this. And Luis Gonzaga.
Año de la Unidad, de
Declaration.
la Paz y el Desarrollo. Pronunciamiento de la Universidad San
Declaration
Luis
from the
Gonzaga,
UNSL
sobre el
ICA
caso de los
regarding the
cuerpos
tridactyl
desicados y
desiccated bodies from the Nazca case.
La Universidad
National
Nacional
University San Luis Gonzaga,
UNSLG,
ICA Perú,
a través de
through
su
its
equipo de
research team,
investigación,
wishes to
desea
address
dirigirse a la
the
comunidad
scientist
científica a
community
nivel
at a
nacional
national
e
and international level,
así como a
as well as the
autoridades y
authorities
al
and the general
público en
public,
general, para
to inform
informar
about
sobre
our
nuestra
studies
labor de
labor
estudio
regarding the
en relación a
tridactyl
los cuerpos
desiccated
desicados
bodies
tridáctilos con
with both
características
human and
tanto
reptilian
humanas como
characteristics
reptilianas que
that
han
have
sido
been known through
conocidos en
public
los medios
media
de
as the
comunicación
Nazca
como
mummies.
las momias de Nazca.
These mummies were discovered in the Palpa and Nazca provinces in the Ica department, Peru. As time has passed, this finding has acquired notoriety in public media, generating controversy and debate. In this sense, we wish to clarify and communicate the following. Number one, on the 1st of August of 2019, National University San Luis Gonzaga, UNSLG, of Ica, Peru, received 4 desiccated bodies with both human and reptilian characteristics. These specimens were handed in by the journalist Jorge Israel Mantilla Carvajal, in virtue of his right to reserve and in compliance with the source of information confidentiality principle, as stated in the second article, subsection 18 of the Political Constitution of Peru. The delivery of these bodies was made with the intent of their custody, conservation, and to perform research destined to clarify the authenticity of said desiccated specimens. Number 2, the bigger body, which has been named Maria, presents a similar size to that of a human being, except for notable anatomical differences, among which stand out an elongated skull and the presence of 3 digits both in hands and feet. The osteological and imaging analysis of the extremities show harmony and structural congruence, with lack of evidence for phalangeal mutilations, rather evidence of inflammatory injuries in the dorsal spine and feet, except for the smaller body's case, which has been named Guaguita. Number 3, the smaller bodies, that are approximately 60 centimeters long, exhibit a morphological and anatomical structure that significantly differ from those of the human being. The skin presents both morphological and histological characteristics that are very similar to those of the reptiles, and both their hands and feet are tridactyl. Furthermore, they possess voluminous skulls, and their bones in general are very different to human anatomy, showing atypical characteristics and traits, unique and sui generis. It is important to highlight that there has not been found any rigid or metallic union element or support in the articulations in the joints across the whole body. Due to the uniqueness of these bodies and the substantial anatomical and structural differences, further research is required to better understand their nature. Number 4, the metallurgical analysis performed through a scanning electron microscopy, SEM, of a metallic pectoral implant revealed an important finding. It was determined that the implant is formed by an alloy of a variety of metals, osmium being the main element. It is relevant to highlight that osmium is an element that was officially discovered by Smithson-Tannat and William Hyde Wollaston in 1903. Due to its electric properties, osmium is used in the fabrication of some electronic devices and in the production of sensors. Additionally, the microscopic study through an optic metallography has revealed the existence of a matrix of microstructures with microscopic pores and microinclusions in the implant. Number 5. Nevertheless, despite the progress pointing towards the confirmation that these bodies are real and the presence of osmium in a metallic implant, it is evident that further research is required due to the marked structural and morphological differences that have been detected through the compared anatomy. Therefore, it is important to highlight that these preliminary results are not conclusive. Number 6. During the conservation and custody period of the desiccated betas, our research team, mainly formed by specialist medics, has encountered multiple obstacles in the execution and proper culmination of the research. These challenges include the pandemic, budget limitations, lack of institutional support, lack of logistics, equipment, as well as legal interference from organizations like the Ministry of Culture and the Public Ministry. Despite these obstacles, we managed to perform imaging studies based on X-ray examination and tomographies, using resources provided by the research team itself, and metallurgic studies with the support of the National University of Engineering. Number 7. It is important to highlight that the research team has never stated that these bodies belong to extraterrestrial beings. During our research, the most we can state is that from a scientific standpoint, these are biological bodies of unknown origins that existed in the past, but not human. Our approach is based on rigorous study and the research for answers within science, without making speculative statements about the nature of these bodies. Number 8. It is important to highlight that, from the beginning, the research team has never been motivated by any mediatic, politic, economic, or interest of any other nature. Number 9. Our sole intention has been to perform scientific research with the purpose to determine rigorously if the pterodactyl desiccated bodies of humanoid appearance are authentic or if they have been falsified, if they are biological origin or not, and to uncover the mysteries that surround their authenticity. Our commitment has been the progress of the scientific knowledge and the search for answers about these specimens. Number 10. Finally, as a result of our research, the team has come to the conclusion that the studied desiccated bodies are completely authentic from a biological standpoint and do not show any sign of being manipulated or manufactured in any way. Our scientific approach has been rigorous, and the results contribute to the authenticity of these bodies. Letter signed by 11 high scientists of the ICA Peru University, 1st of November of 2003.
I think it's a very firm declaration of the university that turns down any of the questions that have been turning up, especially those where there haven't been any kind of investigation or research to determine the authenticity or not. The most qualified, without a doubt, are the heads of the ICA University. It's a great honor for me and the Institute to be... Go ahead, David. We go forth with the video, with the first video. There's one. Okay. I thank the organization and to you, legislators of my brother country, to open your minds to disruptive elements that, to the immense, vast majority, they would require to go out of their comfort zone and to get this vision of the world. To others, maybe to force their paradigmatic premises. The initial videos that will go, as I say, the first part of my presentation, are in homage to more of 100 professionals who have worked a lot of hours and in more than 6 years. The second video will show moments in which I was evaluating one of these biological entities. I, as a medic, which is the denomination of my specialty, or as a forensic, which is the English term, I would like, I have prepared to search for the truth that has been hiding behind what is apparent, to a forum like this one, in this great event. The science has a method, which is the scientific method. In this development, some of the data that we have obtained are already conclusive. Nevertheless, they still require the verification of other researchers in the sense that they need to do the same analysis to obtain the same results. In my country, like in many other countries, there are no specialties in paleogenetics and with other studies. In this study, you would need a very, very, very fine-tuned tomography that requires for the great precision, and they require a great multidisciplinary team and a very, very high budget. Some of the countries, including mine, Peru, with the outdated technology that we have, if we had a fossilized fragment of a dinosaur, we would be
que
reported
hallaron
that
piedra.
they found
Señores, no me estoy burlando.
stone.
Así estamos.
Mr.
Porque los análisis
Ladies and gentlemen,
químicos saldrían los
I'm not
minerales
joking.
que
This is what is
corresponden a una
happening.
piedra. Y hay una enorme
The
diferencia entre
if
una
you
piedra
there's
y
a
un fósil.
great difference between a
Universidad
stone
de
and a
Ica
fossil,
es
and
la que
they
está a
confuse
cargo.
these two.
Y
The
la que debe
University of
estar a cargo.
Ica
Estoy
is
seguro que
the
hará
one who is in
alianzas
charge, and
necesarias
that
para
who needs to
que
be
en
in
una
charge.
segunda
There will need to be
etapa
required to
proseguir con las
be
investigaciones cuando la
alliances
Fiscalía
in the
de
second
mi país suspenda los
block,
bloqueos
so that
y los
my
procesos a los
country
investigadores.
suspends the blockages
La
to
ciencia,
the
señores,
researchers.
está fuera
Science
de las creencias
is out
o no
of
creencias.
the
Asuntos de
beliefs
fe
or
están fuera de lugar en este recinto. Acá se ha
faith
demostrado
is
con
out of the
evidencias nuestras
place in
investigaciones.
this
Y yo
forum.
presentaré
I will present
algo que
now
les sorprenderá.
something that will
A los que
surprise
puedan
you.
prestar atención suficiente
Those who
en
can
los
pay
siguientes
attention
minutos.
in the
Antes de
next
proseguir, quiero
minutes.
dejar
Before,
constancia
I would
que
like to
yo
say
estudié
that I studied
las tomografías de
the
alta
tomography
definición
of
realizadas
high
por
definition
3 tomógrafos
by 3
y coinciden con el
tomographies,
cuerpo que yo
and they
examiné.
coincide
Incluso
with the
verifiqué las
body that I
ubicaciones de las
studied, and I
microestaciones
even
que se requirieron para los
compared
estudios.
it to
También
between studies,
verifiqué
and
si
I
el
also
cuerpo evaluado
verified if
corresponde
the
o no a
body
una entidad
corresponded or
biológica
not
descrita antes
to
sobre la
the
Tierra. Y como ya
biological
se ha
entity
explicado,
that
no
was
hay
described.
evidencia de que
And
sea
there is no
producto de una
evidence that
evolución de
it
ninguna
is a
especie
product of
que
a
haya
evolution
existido
of any
en
species
algún momento,
that has
ni que
existed in any
exista
moment or
actualmente,
that exists
y
right
tampoco
now in
corresponde
the
a
earth, and it
ningún
does not
proceso
correspond
evolutivo
to any
filogenéticamente sobre este planeta.
phylogenetic
Dediqué
evolution
decenas de
process
horas,
in
decenas
this
de
earth.
horas
I
para asegurar
dedicated
que
a
hay
lot of
correspondencia
hours
total con las imágenes
that
fotográficas y
these
determiné que no
images
son
are
producto de la fabricación humana.
truthful and they
La
are
altura de
not
los entes
product of
biológicos
the
en
human
promedio
manufacture.
son 60
The results are
centímetros los adultos
in
maduros,
the
los juveniles unos 50
the
centímetros,
length of the length in average of these bodies are 60 centimeters if they
a
are
la fúrcula,
adult,
salvo una, la que hemos denominado, la que el equipo
except
denominó
one that we have
Josefina,
named
que ha
Josefina,
sido operada.
that
Así,
she
señores, operada
has
significa
taken surgery.
que han confirmado que no
And they have
quirúrgica y
confirmed
una reparación vital espontánea de la
that,
continuidad ósea. Luego
regarding
les
the
mostraré
bones,
la
well,
imagen.
I
que
will
podría
show
ser
images
el hombre.
el
next.
laboratorio más
Está unido y articulado a lo que debe entenderse
What
como
happened
columna
is,
vertebral.
what
El
we
dorso
understand
de las
is
manos
the spinal
están
cord, and
hacia
the
adelante,
doors of the
equilibrados
hands are
las manos y los
tilted
pies.
towards
Por eso se les llama
the front,
tridáctilos, con 3
and
falanges en
they
cada
have
una.
3
Cada dedo
phalanges
termina en una
and
garra.
3
Los
digits.
sapiens, como nosotros,
That's why we call them
nuestra uña está
pterodactyls.
sobre la
Homo
falange
sapiens, like
terminal.
this, the nail
caso,
is
la garra está
over
después de la
the
falange
last phalange.
terminal.
In
El cuello
this
es
case,
móvil,
it's
pero
after.
solo
The neck
lo es
is,
en un
they can
eje.
move it,
Es
but
decir,
only one
solo
axis.
pueden tener un
So they can
movimiento
only have
hacia arriba,
movement
hacia abajo,
up and down,
pero
but
no
not
disculpen, de un lado a otro,
from
pero
one
no
side
de
to the
arriba a
other.
abajo.
No,
Me estoy
from one
refiriendo a
side
la
to another, but not
articulación
up
de
and
la
down.
primera
I am
vértebra y el
referring
cráneo.
to the it's
El
joint
cuello,
from the first
además, es
vertebrae and the skull.
retráctil, como
The
en
skull
toda
is
la
also
columna
retractile,
vertebral,
like the rest of the spinal
y
cord.
lo que llamamos
And what
abdomen.
we say,
La
what we
zona del
call
cuello
an abdomen.
no hay
In
canal
the neck,
medular,
there is no
pero sí hay cordones
medular
nerviosos que
channel, but there is a nervous system.
del tórax. Se
The
verifica la
thorax.
ausencia de
We can
mandíbula,
verify the
pero
absence
tienen
of a
una
jaw,
apertura
but they
ventilatoria
have
y otra de
a
alimentación.
respiratory
Existe una
hole,
apertura del
and
conducto
there's
ventilatorio
also a hole
alimenticio
in
en la parte
the
anterior del cráneo y que
anterior
sale
part of the
del
skull,
piso anterior de la base del cráneo
and it
hacia
goes
la zona
through
anterior del cuello.
the frontal
El
part
cuello se
to the
vincula
anterior
con
part
el
of
piso
the neck.
medio del cráneo, no como nosotros, los sapiens,
Unlike
que lo tenemos
us,
en el
the Homo
piso posterior
sapiens that have
de la base del cráneo.
the
Estos seres
skull
siempre
in
fueron
the posterior
bípedos,
part of
es
it.
decir, evolutivamente no han
These
tenido
beings
como
were
esta línea de
always
utilizar
they were always into legs,
sus
so
extremidades
they never
anteriores
use
para
the
movilizarse como
anterior
nosotros en
extremities
nuestra
to
evolución.
move, unlike us
Las
in our
cuencas
evolution.
oculares no han sido
The eyes
manipuladas en
have
ninguna
not
de las
been
unidades biológicas. Las costillas
manipulated
tienen
in any
forma
way.
en arco de
The
C conformadas por 3
ribs
unidades, dos
are formed
laterales
by
y una al
3
centro,
units, 2 lateral and 1 in
articuladas. Las
the
últimas
center,
dos costillas
articulated.
no
The
tienen la
last
parte
2
central.
ribs do not
Serían
have the
las
central
costillas
part,
flotantes
and those are
inferiores
the floating
cerca a donde
ribs
están las zonas
that
de
are
los
very
huevos.
close to the part where
En el
the eggs
vientre
are. In the
están
belly,
los huevos
there are the
en
eggs
diferente
in
estado
different
de
state
progresión
of
gestacional. Esta
development.
formación sería
This
lo más
formation would be
parecido
the most
a los
similar thing
ovovivíparos
to the
en su modalidad de
ovoviviparity
matrotropía, que
in
son
that
huevos
state,
que requieren un
and that
aporte
they are
complementario
eggs
de la
that
madre
would
a
need
través de vasos alimenticios. Y estos
supplement from the mother through blood
parten todos
vessels.
de un núcleo
And
placentario.
they all come
Esta
from
tomografía la
a
explicaré
placentary
en unos
nucleus.
segundos.
And I will explain this
La
tomography in some
paleogenética, una
seconds.
ciencia que
The,
está obligando a
the
reescribir la
paleogenetics
historia en
that
forma análoga,
has
como
been
cuando se tuvo que reescribir las
rewriting
fronteras de los
history.
Estados Unidos, cuando apareció
When
la
it appeared,
tecnología
the
del ADN
technology
para
of DNA
identificación.
for
La
identification has
paleogenética,
changed
en este caso,
everything.
nos ha
The
determinado que no
paleogenetics
corresponde a
have
ninguna especie de
determined that it
nuestro
has
mundo
not,
conocido. Es decir,
that this body does not
nosotros nos
belong to
parecemos más
any body
a una bacteria
of
que a estos seres.
the of
Se
any
puede
known
asegurar que
being.
vivieron en la Tierra.
To put it
No
frankly,
sabemos con certeza
we
el
are
motivo
more
de su
similar to a
desaparición,
bacteria
aunque
than
podemos
these beings
suponer
to
la
anything
hipótesis que
else.
no se pudieron
So,
adaptar a nuestro mundo
we could say
conocido.
that
Pero aquí
the
hay que
hypothesis
mezclar.
is that they just
Son
couldn't
seres
adapt
de otro
to
mundo,
the current
pero me
world.
refiero al mundo,
We could say
me
that
refiero
they
al
are
mundo
beings from
que nos
other
han
worlds.
descrito los
But
paleontólogos,
I say, I
antropólogos,
refer to another
arqueólogos.
world that the
Es el momento de
paleontologists and
replantear la
archaeologists
historia
have
tal como es,
told us.
y que
So
nuevos
it's time
profesionales
to
con calificaciones
reimagine
en
history
estas nuevas ciencias tengan a cargo.
regarding all of
Me
these
refiero a la
evidences that
paleogenética,
we have
a la
now
tomografía
found.
por
I'm
conteo de
referring to
fotones. Esto que
paleogenetics,
describiré con imágenes en
tomographies,
unos minutos
and what I
es
will
el
describe with images in
tremendo
some minutes
elemento
is
disruptivo
a
que
great
para
disruptive
muchos
element
profesionales,
that for a
incluso
lot
los
of
serios,
professionals, even the serious ones,
responderán
they
con
will respond
resistencia
with
y negación.
resistance and
Paso frente a las
fear
imágenes.
that they are
Indicando la zona
pointing
lateral
to the
del
lateral
arco
zone
anterior
of
de
the
las
anterior arc
costillas.
of the
Bien,
ribs.
dije que las costillas eran
You
tres
see,
partes,
the ribs, there
dos
are three
laterales y
parts,
una anterior.
two laterals
Es
and
decir, tienen
an
costillas en
anterior.
toda
So
la
they have
zona
ribs
anterior.
in all the anterior parts.
Siguiente.
Next.
Si ven ahí las flechas
If you can see
verdes,
there, the green
están
arrows, they
señalando
are
las costillas
signaling
flotantes.
the floating
Es decir,
ribs.
no tienen la
That
parte
means
anterior.
that they
La
do
flecha
not
roja que
have,
ustedes están viendo en
and
la
the
imagen
red
está señalando la
arrow that
ausencia
is
de
there,
la parte del
that
arco
signals the
anterior.
absence
¿Se
of
acuerdan? La
the
parte
frontal arc of the ribs.
Absolutely incredible.
Elementos nutricios complementarios que la madre da a los huevos. Pero tengo más ampliaciones sobre esto.
But I have
Se van a
more
sorprender.
amplification of this. You will be surprised. Next.
Ustedes
Okay,
van a ver ahí
so you can see
con
here
una
that
flecha
with
verde
a green arrow,
una introducción
you
al
see an
huevo
introduction to the
en
egg
forma de
with a
plexo.
form of plexus,
Van a ver en una
and you will
flecha,
see in a
celeste
blue arrow
otra forma de un
another
vaso
form
tortuoso que
of
da
a
a correr por
tortuous
detrás de este
vessel
huevo
that goes
y dos flechas
in the
rojas
back
que
of
son
the
fragmentos
egg, and two red
de
arrows that
entrada
are
de
fragments
vasos
of
alimenticios hacia esos huevos. Quiero decirles que
alimentary
si
tracts to
usted
those
abre
eggs. So if you open
ese cuerpo, se
that
va
body,
a deshacer como si fuera
it is going
una
to dissolve like
ceniza
if
de un
it was
cigarrillo.
a
Porque así de
cigarette,
desecado
because
están estas
that's how
estructuras,
decayed
así
the
de
structures are.
delicadas.
That's how
Siguiente
delicate they are. Next image.
Ese es solo un
This
acercamiento
is
de lo
just
que ya expliqué.
a zoom
Siguiente.
in to what I've just explained. Next one.
Esa es otra vista de
That
lo que
is
expliqué.
another view of what I've just explained.
Siguiente.
Next.
Esta es una
This
son
is
estructuras que se encuentran
structures
en
that
la
are
parte- en la
found in
superficie. Son una
the
especie de
surface.
cuerpos
This is some
verrucosos,
kind
pero
of
que no tienen nada de
bodies,
verrugas,
but they
por
don't
ahora.
really have
Son estructuras que también han sido estudiadas.
any kind of bone tissue. They have
Este es el
already studied them.
estudio
Next one.
histológico
This is the
de,
histologic
que es
study
queratina, por eso es
that
que
is keratin.
se parece
That's why it looks
análogo
like
a un reptil.
like a
Siguiente.
reptile. Next.
Esos serían como los tamaños.
These are
Si
like
ven,
the
por
sizes.
acá están
As you can
señaladas
see,
con
they are signaled
letras.
with
El más
letters.
grande sería
The
el
bigger
adulto, el
one would be
intermedio,
the
joven,
adult,
y
the intermediate
los juveniles y los
would be
menores.
the juvenile
Eh,
and the minors.
Pero hay
But
también
there,
intermedios.
there's
¿no?
also
Esta es la clasificación
middle ones.
que en un
But this is
momento
the
les vamos a
classification that in
decir
a moment we
lo que
will tell you.
inicialmente pensamos. Siguiente.
But we have just come to with.
Le llamamos familia 1
Next,
Siguiente.
we called it familia,
Familia
family
dos.
1, family 2,
y familia 3.
and family
En
3.
realidad la familia 3 eran
In
los
family
más
3,
adultos,
they are
los
the
intermedios
most
de la
adult
familia
ones,
1, que se denominó
the
como
intermediates
los más
from
juveniles.
the
Y la
family
familia
1,
3, si se dan
which
cuenta,
are
de
the
adultos tienen
family
una
1.
proyección
And
más
you can see that in the
puntiaguda
family
hacia
3, they have a more
Podríamos
angular
hablar sobre
projection
mis
towards the
adultos.
center.
Siguiente.
But, well, this is an adult one.
Esta es Victoria.
This
que
is
es adulta.
Victoria, who is an adult.
Y ven en la fúrcula, parte
And you can
interior,
see that
la
in the
punta,
interior part,
no
the
hay-
point,
no hay
there is
mucha proyección.
there isn't really a lot of
Y
projection.
vamos a ampliar la zona
We're
de
going to
Victoria.
zoom in to
Siguiente.
the Victoria zone.
Miren,
Look,
esta,
This
quizá para el
is
que no es
probably,
especialista no se da
so
cuenta,
maybe the
pero
specialists did
ahí
not
hay
know,
osificación,
but there is bone
cirugía.
post
Es decir, no
surgery.
es que solo le sacaron, sino
it doesn't mean
lo
that they
unieron
just
por alguna
took
patología que tuviera
bones, but
y se
they
ha
also
osificado otra
put
vez.
them together
Siguiente.
because of some pathology that she had,
Bien,
and it
ahí
was
vemos en el cuello,
attached together.
la parte roja que ven
We can see
ustedes,
that in the neck, the red part
vamos a decir, baja por el cuello,
that goes
son
down
los
the
cordones
neck.
que van a
There are
formar
the
la
cords that
médula
will
espinal
form
y comienza a
the
estructurarse
spinal
cuando hay un
cord
canal
that will
raquídeo que
start
comienza
to
en el
structure
tórax
when there's
y corre por el
a
cuerpo, en la zona
raquídeous
posterior.
channel
Siguiente.
in the posterior part. Next.
Esta, ahí
This
es la imagen difícil de ver.
this is
Pero
a
la
very
parte
hard image
de
to
un
see,
lado
but
donde no está la pinza, sino al
where
lado,
it's
el otro
not
lado,
to the opposite
ese
part
es
of where
parte del
the
cuello. Y un cuello que ya
panzers
estaba,
are.
ya estaba
This is
cortado.
the
No
the
hemos-
neck. So
nadie del
that
equipo
is
ha
already
destruido
that was
nada.
already cut. No,
Se-
nobody from the
se
team has
fragmentó
destroyed anything.
un cuello que ya
So
estaba cortado
this neck was
para
already
hacer las
cut
muestras
to make it.
ADN.
So we took DNA
Pero lo que
samples from
estoy,
there. But what I want
lo que estoy mostrando en una
to
pinza
show
sería
in
lo que
here
llamaríamos
is
una
what
vértebra.
we would call
Y
a
lo que está
vertebrae,
quedando visible, medio más
and what is
amarillo, sería un
showing,
cojinete
which is more
intervertebral,
yellow,
para el cual
is an
el cual que se extiende
intervertebrate
espontáneamente y por eso el cuerpo es retráctil.
stuff,
Sí.
and it expands, and that's why the body is retractile.
Bien, no sé si lo logran ver.
I don't know if you can
en la
see
figurita de
in
abajo,
the
muestro
figure
lo que sería
below.
una columna
I can show
vertebral
what
humana,
is a human
la,
spinal cord,
donde hay pues los
where
cuerpos
there's
vertebrales y
the vertebral
los
bodies,
cojinetes
and
o
the,
los discos intervertebrales.
the discs,
Vamos a pasar
the
en el
intervertebral
cuerpo,
discs. So you can see that in the
en la
body,
imagen,
in the image.
una
that is-
tomografía, pero
it's a
que está
tomography, but
dibujada.
it's
Se ven
drawn.
esos
You can see those
cuerpos
bodies
intervertebrales que en realidad son
that are in the
cojinetes,
vertebrae, that are like
y lo
the
que llamamos
discs.
esos delgaditos que ustedes
And what
ven,
we call
los
those
cojinetes,
thin ones
son
that
las-
we can see between the
serían las
discs,
vértebras.
they would be the
Siguiente.
vertebrae. Next.
Bien, felizmente ustedes el próximo año van a
So
tener
the
la
next
edición
year you
de ese
will
libro
have this,
que va a salir
the
primero
edition
para
of this
los
book
mexicanos estudiosos,
that
donde
will
resumen
be available
cerca de
first
las
to
miles de
the-
horas trabajadas
to
en su
the
hermoso
Mexican
país.
academics.
Pasemos a la siguiente.
Let's go to the next presentation.
So as you can see, absolutely fascinating. I mean, the amount of information that these guys are reeling off is just incredible. You've probably just seen that. So I'm wearing my Superman bottoms for this one. So the information they're reeling off, they're saying, look, if you want to come and study these bodies, come and study the bodies. They're open to be studied, okay? They found parts of liver. They found technology welded to the chest. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think about this? They've got chest plates, hollow chest plates, some kind of technological implant that's there, you know? Quite clearly bodies, not put together pieces, a bit of a chicken, a bit of a monkey and something else, and then shoved in some plaster. Now, these were clearly worshipped, clearly highly held beings around there. The larger one, very strange, nearly our height, you know. So are these interdimensional beings? Are they out some of our ancestors from before? You know, are these another evolution of, I don't know, reptilians that people believe that live beneath us? I think, you know, from prehistoric times that have developed. Let me know in the chat what you guys think. I'm seriously interested to hear your different thoughts and different views on this. And obviously the second lot of clips there where we saw the different kind of UAPs that have been reported. And obviously that clip from the airport there. Absolutely fascinating. How much more testimony we're going to have to take from pilots, from military, from people telling us that these things in our sky. And as you saw, the ambassador, Mexican guy in charge of, I can't remember his name, the guy in charge of the event there, very passionate guy. He's been interviewed by He's been interviewed by So anyway, he's been interviewed by Christina G, and go check that out. Please go over to her channel, go check this out. So those little clips are from there. Okay, so the UFO here in America was pretty much the same to that, apart from the alien bodies kind of thing. And it was just obviously them giving testimony. I've covered David Faber before. I'm going to go into him again. Obviously the Tic Tac incident. Everyone must know about this now. And obviously Ryan Graves was relaying the gimbal incident and things to them. So David Grusch then. I've got a couple of clips from Joe Rogan to play for you. So here you go. Here's some clips from Joe Rogan. Go watch the full episode, the full interview These are just a few little clips.
So this is obviously very compartmentalized,
Yes.
where there's only a few people that know about this information and they're not allowed to discuss it with other people. When did this all start? I mean, is this out of Roswell? Is it predate that? Like when did they first realize that there are things that cannot be explained or can't be explained through conventional means?
Yeah, I mean, the program goes back a ways. The precise beginning of it, I can't talk about, but I did, because of security stuff, but I did talk about publicly the 1933 retrieval, and I did that tactically, and I ran that through the security approval office because I wanted to show that this is much older and it's international. It's not like a U.S. thing. I mean, this stuff is landing or crashing around the world, and unexpected countries have had this happen, and that's why I picked that, because I thought that was a interesting case. And then, of course, Pope Pius XII and the Vatican were involved, back-channeling it through the OSS, which became the CIA later, to FDR, and that's how the U.S. knew something weird happened in Italy right before World War II. But
so this was 33 was the first documented.
That is the earliest one I can talk about. Yeah.
This was the first documented one that the United States had access to?
I can't get into if it was the first or not, but it was an early one.
Very early.
Yeah.
So it's almost 100 years ago.
Yes.
And so they take this thing and then they bring it where?
Yeah, I can't get into those
Can't get
details.
into that.
No.
Okay. So they bring it somewhere in the United States. And was the attempt to try to back engineer this thing? Was the attempt to try to understand what it was?
Yeah, I mean, first of it, obviously, it's understanding the situation, right? What do we have our hands on? And like I've said in some other videos and stuff, we took the Manhattan Project secrecy and overlaid it on this issue because that secrecy worked well for atomic bomb developments and whatnots. And certainly this whole program in a nutshell, if I were to summarize the 90 plus years of history, it is a reverse engineering program to garner some kind of insight. And of course, not a lot of the things that we've learned from it are directly, ripped off the technology we found, but it has inspired other innovations that made its way into other U.S. classified programs over the year for national defense reasons, and it's a myriad of different things. So
the UFO folklore is that this is where fiber optics were discovered first.
Yeah, I'm not going to break the seal on anything we've discovered or anything like that. And it's a place I can't go to.
How limited are you in what you can discuss and what you can't discuss, and why?
Yeah.
Why do they let you discuss any of this?
Yeah, so anything sensitive that I want to say as it relates to U.S. government activity, whether it be intelligence stuff, military stuff, etc., I have to submit it through what they call DOPSR, DoD Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review. That is something anybody who's been an intel officer, anybody with a clearance has to submit, that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, if you're writing a book about gardening, you don't have to. But if you're going to talk about anything military and intelligence related, you have to submit. So it's kind of a catch-22 for this office, right? They're only looking at it from a security perspective. They're not vouching for it or anything like that. And that's like any author, right? They could write a book about Navy SEALs and they're not vouching for the story. They're vouching that you didn't say any nasty code words. You didn't burn a specific ongoing classified program. And for them, I mean, I'm not in their OODA loop, but certainly it's a catch-22 for them where if they want to redact and they propose a redaction, they're like, hey, Dave, you can't say these sentences. You can rewrite it and resubmit. We can't necessarily tell you what agency said to redact it, but you're not allowed to say this. They would be basically self-certifying there's a there. So in my opinion, probably the policy is if it has to deal with the subject, we're not saying anything. We're not proposing any redactions. As long as he's not burning a conventional program, we kind of have to allow him to exercise his First Amendment rights. And so I think it's like a catch-22 for that office is kind of the short of the long
retrieval incidents have there been?
It is double digit. The specific numbers I do know. However, I can't discuss that. And I know it sounds like, I'm being coy or whatever, but this show, any other interviews I do, right? Foreign intelligence services are watching, and it's like, I'm not here to help Russia and China calibrate their intelligence collection. Like, oh, Dave said it's this number. We missed a couple. Shit. Let's put it out for the KGB, SVR, and GRU are now going to hit the streets to try to figure out which ones they missed. So,
See what I mean? He's a very interesting guy, isn't he? Very down to earth, very straightforward. Go and watch the full thing. It's just like some dude, I was in charge of intelligence and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I'd probably kill people and whatever and this and that. But I just thought this was wrong because they're withholding this information and it's quite clear information that everyone should know. But, it's very nice, straightforward. So what do you guys think? I've asked you before, what do you guys think of David Grusch? I honestly believe he wouldn't come. Why would you? Unless this is some massive psyop, that people, can go back round on or whatever and claim. They've tried to discredit him themselves. So it's like, well, why? Because he had PTSD. Oh, all right. So he's making up all this stuff? I don't think so. And he's got backing from people and evidence, and he's not allowed to say X, Y, and Z. Well, like I said before, if it wasn't true, why is he not allowed to say X, Y, and Z? So I hope you enjoyed these couple of clips. And yeah, I've got some more bits to come up in part 2 for you. To go over the glossary of all the information and things that we found out. There's a incident that I've got for you from a UK ship, a US Navy ship, basically firing upon a UAP over Syria. So I've got that coming up in part 2 and some new evidence. But digest this, go and watch Christina, go and watch the full Mexico hearing, go and listen to David Grusch again, do what I do, listen to Joe Rogan repeatedly. I watched the Travis Walton interview a million times, right? A million times. I know but that is an abduction from his point of, and it's fascinating. And I get why he's so defensive. I can't imagine what it'd be like trying to just defend yourself over that point, and what you've experienced and people just not believing you. But you've got to put yourself in that frame of mind, haven't you? I've listened to the David Fravor interview on Joe Rogan hundreds of times to make sure that, that this really happened, the way he's coming across, the way this, I've listened to Bob Lazar interview on Joe Rogan trillions of times. I bore myself, actually. I listen to it every other day. That's probably why it's probably me, Joe. That's why your views are so high. I'm just like, play again. And I keep listening to it because I'm just fascinated by, he had a migraine, he's coming across and blah, blah. It's very genuine. There's nothing seems to be very forced about it, and it's similar to what he's saying. I can recount things that I've said and repeat stuff, and I could make something up and whatever, and you can replay it, but it's like, no. So it's very good for that. So cheers, Joe. Cheers, Joe Rogan, for that. But yeah, you've got people now like Jeremy Corbell, who I've done a piece on. You've got George Knapp, who I've also done a piece on. And they're pushing for things, and we've got Congress coming forward. Now, like I say in every single UFO video, I would love to hear from the UK government, right? Now, like I say, in part 2, I'm going to show you when the UK Navy, the Royal Navy, fired upon a unknown UAP. That's what they're classifying it as. They tell people in the news tells you, oh, it was a drone, oh, it was this. Not by what they're classifying it as. Trust me. Okay? We know that the MOD still looks into this stuff. We don't know what the project's called, but we know that they still have a project. They claim to not be investigating this because there's no threat to the UK, but yet they are. And we know there's a threat to the UK. There's a threat to the world because we're not investigating this stuff. We're not looking into this properly. So, digest these couple of clips then. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think about the alien bodies? What do you think about what we've learned so far? What do you think about the Penrich incident that I've put there forward? What do you think about the A70 abduction case? The Todd Morton abduction case? Alan Godfrey and all his story, Thousands of people. Tell me what you think about, I've not covered him yet, but I will be covering him. Travis Walton. Tell me what you think about all of these cases. I've covered the Pascagoula case where the 2 guys were abducted in broad daylight. We've got witnesses on the other side of the pond there. of the lake, which I'm going to be covering in another episode. You know, we're finding out more and more and more and more. You know, it's always fascinating me. People say, I believe in God, I believe in this, whatever, and that's fine. If you say that you believe in aliens or extraterrestrials, it's not a case of believing anymore, people. They're there. You can see them. They've been witnessed for thousands and thousands of years and documented for thousands of years. These things were flying around our pilots in World War II, you know, the Foo Fighters. They've been there since then, since before. We've been tracking them. We've been painting them. We've been documenting them. People have been drawing them on caves, you know. What are they? Are they previous human species, you know, meant to be here? Are we the aliens? Are we subseeded? Did they seed us? Who knows? Where, you know, how much do our governments actually know? So, in part 2 of Disclosure, we're going to be looking into the incident with the Royal Navy ship and the shoot down, these other new UAP shoot downs, and try and see if we can come to some kind of consensus of what's going on from your comments as well. So I'm going to wait to see how many people get commenting, what feedback I get, and Disclosure Part 2 will be coming up sometime next week. But obviously I've got the cryptids coming up, so if you enjoyed Jeff the Talking Mongoose, we've got more bits about cryptids coming up as well. And obviously more ancient history, which I'm going to be sort of tying in with all this. And some updates on the DMT and psilocybin studies taking place at Imperial College London and around the world. So yeah, just please leave me your comments, leave me your thoughts. What do you think about these Peru aliens? What do you think about these UFO sightings? What do you think about everything that we've got to right now? Right now is the furthest along we've ever been in possibly getting disclosure for the UFO topic and what these things actually are. So please, once again, leave me in the comments what you think. If you like this, please like it, like the video, please subscribe, and thank you once again to everyone that has subscribed recently. It means the absolute world to me. Oh, hello. Yep, go check out those other videos. I'm giving you some homework to do, people. That's what this channel's all about. Research yourself. So if you don't know any of these topics that I've been covering or been saying, the 870 incident, the Tom Morton case, the Penrich incident, the Pascagoula incident, go back through my channel. They're all on there. Go and look for them. There's more UFO videos as well. If you search in the link, they're all on a playlist. And then go and check out Christina's channel and some other people. Go check out the Y-Files if you want, and some of the other guys, and see where we're at. Go check out Jeremy Corbell. And George Knapp and Weaponized. Get some research behind you, get some more information, see if you're caught up to where we all are, right? Leave me the comments, and then we'll do Disclosure Part 2, and I'll let you know exactly where I think we are at the minute, and when we might discover what's actually going on. So thank you very much for listening, guys. Thank you very much for subscribing once again. And have a great evening, weekend time on the toilet, whatever it is you're doing. In fact, if you're having a poo, listen to this. Next time you're on your night out, keep a lookout for these. They come in all shapes and colors, and they carry a disease. Urinal underpants. Urinal underpants. What's that stain inside you? It's all crusty and it's brown. I don't know why someone has left you in the middle of town. Urinal underpants. Urinal underpants. That has nothing to do with the topic, but thank you very much for listening anyway. So until next time, peeps, I shall see you laters. Will you drop something?